Well, today we're going to look at propagating my Monstera deliciosa. This is a plant that I've had for a little over 2 years right now, and it is in its second pot. I put it in a giant pot because it's getting so big, I don't think I could handle it once it gets a little bigger than this as far as replanting. But we got it back in April of 2019. I have it under regular lamps. It's next to a window too, so I think it gets enough light, but I noticed the leaves are kind of small looking, the new growth, so I do want to try to spike that up a little by propagating it, getting some new plants from it, and I'm hoping that'll get it a little more bushy. This is what it looked like when we first got it in its first pot. Quite a bit bigger, but more sprawling and horizontal. Now there is a post back on the blog. I'll link in our description here so that you can go read the post and see a lot more pictures of it. But it is a pretty healthy looking plant. It looks pretty decent. Now this is where you would cut. That little tiny change of color there, let me see if I can get in here closer. That little change, like a little collar there, is where you would cut. You would cut between those near to some of the nodes, like this right here. In between those two aerial roots that are trying to grow out, you can see a little tiny leaf has tried to come through there, but it's right there in that area between two collars that you could snip. Now those little brown spots are the aerial roots. If you cut between those, you can get a plant growing from each of those sides, because the aerial root just becomes the root of the plant, and it grows out like looks like a bowl of spaghetti. I'll show you what it looks like, because I have already cut one and it's been growing for about 10 days and it's got a lot of roots. I took a little 2-leaf section there, and my particular little growth spurt has already put out another leaf. Now see right here, you can cut just under that little collar, just above that area. See, that's the other end. So anywhere between those two, and you can get that whole stem to grow and make more roots, and have the start of a really good section of plant, because they're a lot above that particular section. See, it just forks off in all different directions, so that could be a substantial plant there already. You can just see them all over. Once you know what to look for, it's easy to find a node. And you can see how big the leaves are there. They have a lot of those fenestrations, the little splits in them. That's supposedly so they can get more sunlight. Look at that node right there. Now the leaves, the roots would just grow in a little ring around that particular node. See, there's another one with an aerial root just started. Now, if you have an aerial root that has grown out real long and you don't like the looks of it, you can snip those off. You don't have to keep those, but that's another spot that could grow roots if you want to keep that. Now, I just put mine in regular water. If you wanted to put just a dash of rooting hormone on the end, that's okay, but it's not necessary. Look at all those potential roots there with a nice big node. There's so many spots here. I'm hoping to root 3 or 4 of these, maybe more, and get some plants that I can put outside for the summer. I just like to see how this would grow outside, if it could show me some fast, good growth right there from cutting the node. I'll do that, put them out in a big pot on the deck, probably in partial but strong sunlight. Now this is my one that has rooted for about 10 days. You can see how much root there is already. I stuck a little piece of the Brazil down in there too. In fact, this little root cutting, sprouted a new leaf. Now that was probably already begun, I just didn't notice it when I took the cutting, but it's showing how well it's doing. You can see that color change by the node, but look at that middle stem coming up with this unfurled new leaf. Now, later here in the video, I have another shot of this same bottle. It's a day or two later and it's starting to unfurl. But this one, I'll be potting it up shortly, and I'll probably take a video of that so you can see that too. But meanwhile, I'll get the little Brazil out of this pot so that this one can share its own. Now you can see right there the ring, the collar ring, where all the growth of roots occurs. Right around that ring, right around the aerial root. Kind of that white area is the regular roots, the darker green is the aerial root. Now we'll put the Brazil in her own bottle of water. She's got one long, I guess, main stem with lots of tiny ones. You can't see it so much out of the water, but we'll put her in her own bottle so that I can take care of this. Now I'll pot that probably in a bottle or in a pot that's just a little bit wider and bigger than this bottle. It's probably about a 5-inch circle. Now she's got so many roots, I'm afraid if I tug too hard to pull her out of there with the camera in my other hand, that I'll knock the bottle of water over. So I'll just pull her out that far so you can see the development. But this will make a nice sized little plant. I really think it did well. As I explained on my post, like to get them out before their roots are more than a few inches long, because I think the little roots and root hairs have a hard time adapting to soil if they stay in the water too long. Now that palish green is the aerial root, and then the other whiter ones are the roots that have come out of the collar. But you can see the difference there in their color. But I think that the roots have a harder time adapting to soil if they stay in the water too long, because they kind of get lazy and they don't want to go search out the water themselves. But this is sprawling. I'm hoping harvesting and pruning basically will get me some more bushiness. Now that's one of the leaf unfurling now a little bit in this one that's pretty advanced in its rooting. This is maybe a day or two later. I've cut another one off, a larger leaf. Now you can display one of these larger leaves in a bottle, but it's not going to root unless it has that node that you can see there at the bottom, that little collar. So in a few days I should have roots on that one. This one is going to be ready to pot up. And then of course my little Brazil there in the background, I'll need to pot her up too. They're a little bit harder to root. I think it takes them a while to grow. But look how nice that leaf looks. It's unfurling nicely, not stuck like some of them do. Because I've had some get stuck and they just, I don't know, get all ripped and shredded. But the Brazil, she's going to go in her own pot. And I may also put that one outside. I just like to see how houseplants do outside in the humidity, the air, the cool and heat, as if they're in a jungle. That's just what I like to do with houseplants. And since I get a free one like this, I can just experiment. One of my pictures of a Hypertufa. But this is where the cut has healed, where I harvested it. They just dry up, callus over, and heal. So don't ever worry about taking a cuttings. These Monstera or monsters just grow like crazy. That's why they're called a monster, a Monstera, because they grow like a monster. So don't be afraid to cut yours. Thanks for watching, and I'll have another video a little bit later on potting it up. And then also I'm going to stake this one and see what I can do to get that horizontal turned into vertical. But thanks for watching today, and I'll see you next video.